My name is Caley Africa, this is Heavy Chef, and today we are talking to Jonathan Smit, who is the co-founder and MD of a company called Payfast. But as of July 2019, Payfast was acquired by the DPO Group in one of the, or actually the biggest transaction to take place upon the African continent within the payments service provider category. That's quite something. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jonathan Smit. Jonathan Smit, I see that you've been a big fan of Heavy Chef from the start. You were one of the earliest community members.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been great work that the team has done for many, many years, and I have a long association with Fred and the guys. So it's been great to see how kind of the community in Cape Town has actually grown in the last, I suppose, decade or more.
Yeah,
you know, it's been very good, and I think Heavy Chef has been a great part of that.
Yeah, and you founded Payfast, or you co-founded Payfast 12 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2007, May 2007. So this will be our now 13th year, I suppose, in existence. So yeah.
And when you started the company, what was the vision? Where did you want to be? I know you've just been acquired by DPO. Was that part of the plan at the start?
So, we didn't have, the founders of Payfast, myself and a gentleman by the name of Andy Higgins, and we didn't necessarily have like a clear vision, right? So what happened was I'd always wanted to start a company, right? It's kind of something that was just in me.
Sure.
I spent 2 years in a more technical role, 2 years in a more corporate role, and then left to start something, right? Didn't have a clear idea what that was.
In your 20s, right?
In my 20s, yeah. So that would have been, let's think, I was sort of 25-ish, somewhere around there, and I decided I wanted to start something. And I started looking at the market, tried a few things. One of the people I wanted to talk to was Andy, who I knew through a mutual contact. And we started chatting about a bunch of stuff, and I ended up actually running an e-commerce business of his at the time that was actually feeding product into But or Buy, which he founded. And did that for a while, decided it wasn't really me, but it was in the right kind of space, right? Which was e-commerce, which was the internet, which was technology, which I really enjoyed. And I always did that as a hobby. And then we started looking at, I started creating sellers tools for something on But or Buy, and Andy thought that wasn't a really good use of my skills. So we started talking about a bunch of different stuff, and there were a lot of ideas. But funnily enough, all of them needed payment, right? And payment was just really underserved at the time. There wasn't a lot of option for people out there, especially small businesses. It was the vanguards of the payment gateway world. And it was hard. So we were like, okay, well, what are the options? And we sort of looked at this and decided, really, screw it, let's do it. And came up with a concept to, the first product we created was our instant EFT product. And that was because we saw a need on But or Buy at the time where the buyers and sellers were needing to interact or transact with each other. And it was proving very popular, but it had some challenges. So the first product we created was, I created was that instant EFT, but also on the back of this payments platform. So I spent about a year building that to start with. Andy provided some of the seed capital. I provided the blood, sweat, and tears and the brains. And and that was it. And we just kind of set about to start attacking this problem and solving
at that
problems
point in time, when you started Payfast, were there other guys playing in the space in South Africa? Or were you one of the first movers?
So payments is interesting, and you only kind of learn about the payments industry really when you're in it. It's, and I've sort of constantly learned over many years. We approached it from a very different angle. We approached it more from what we'd seen in the rest of the world. Like the likes of PayPal, right, is a good example. Whereas the guys in the country at the time were very much more traditional, where they're more sort of merchant service providers, where you go to the bank, you get your merchant account, then you go to a technical payment provider, and they plumb the technical pipes, but you've got to deal with multiple parties. It's very hard to get that merchant account with the bank when you don't have any track record, right? So that was what was there at the time, right? It wasn't the sort of easy sign up, get up and running quickly. They didn't cater well for e-commerce companies. You had to have potentially a developer involved to try and do the integration, which was quite complex. So it was just really difficult. And we wanted to make it a lot easier.
For people to access. At this point in time, you guys have 55 1,000 merchants on board in South Africa?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit more than that, and it kind of depends what number you use.
Sure.
But there are a few different things out there. I mean, technically, the number of registered is way more than that. But
Sure.
this is the guys who are registered. We've done the verifications,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. They're able to transact. So yeah, it's probably approaching about 60,000 now, or over 60,000 now.
Sure. So being acquired by DPO, right? What does that mean to you as a co-founder?
So, I mean, this is a bit of it's not quite a traditional deal that people might see where, it's an exit and you earn out and you're on a tropical island or doing investing or whatever, right? That's not the
Flying
case
your
here.
helicopter planes.
Yeah, that's not the case here. This has been a deal that's kind of been a long time coming,
Sure.
which is quite a strategic play by the companies involved as
Sure.
well as the private equity firm that's behind it. So it is a part shares, part cash
Sure.
deal, and that means that really what it is now is a truly founder-led organization. It is
Sure.
a collection of companies across the continent,
Sure.
a strong one in East Africa, strong ones in South Africa, and together the idea is that we are building the largest African PSP, which really has some kind of scale on a global network,
Sure.
on a global stage.
And a PSP, sorry for those that don't know exactly what the payment service provider.
Payment service provider, that's
Like,
it.
Where are the boundaries on that? A payment service provider. Where does that start and stop?
I think it's it's one of those ones where it's interesting when people say, you're in payments, and there's so many
Yeah.
different aspects that you can
Yeah.
actually do in payments.
Sure.
You can be, in a sort of banking realm, you can be an issuing, you can be an acquiring, you can
Yeah.
be a payment service provider that only works the traditional way where you plumb the pipes to a bank, or you can be someone that's more involved like ourselves,
Sure.
So there are a lot of different areas that you can operate in. But I think probably PSP generally would
Sure.
be a technology company that is
Sure.
involved in the payments world that is a non-bank.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. What can your merchants look forward to now that you have been acquired, and obviously you have a bigger range of companies under the DPO Group? What are some of the value adds going forward that you're going to be rolling out, or that come with the package now that you're under this bigger umbrella?
So look, I think that's something that we've got to figure out in time. There's not an immediate thing we can say,
Sure.
this is what's going to
Sure.
happen. Really, this is going to be a multi-brand
Sure.
strategy going forward. I mean, the entities that are part of this group now are very strong in their own rights, right? So we are building a larger group, but we
Sure.
are not blind to the fact that each of the individual components of this have very, very strong brand equity following and offerings, right? And part of the point of this is that it's very complementary as things stand now,
Sure.
especially when you consider the South African companies. There's a lot of complement rather than competition between them, right?
Sure.
So no immediate changes really for anyone,
Sure.
even us as a company.
Sure.
We're going to, over time, figure out where there are synergies, where we can do things together, where
Sure.
we can be more efficient, where there are things that we need to combine. So we're going to figure a lot of that out. But what it does do in terms of the story is technically give everyone kind of more access and exposure to
Sure.
the continent as a whole, right? So the group operates in 18 different countries, and
Sure.
that's going to be expanded to, I think, either 26 or 28 in the coming few years.
Amazing.
And it also means that just even locally, right, when we take South Africa, which is the biggest market still on the continent,
Sure.
there is a lot that the two sort of main entities in South Africa, Paygate and
Payfast,
Payfast,
yeah.
can kind of do together,
Sure.
because our businesses are quite synergistic.
Sure.
And it means that we're able to service a full range of clients, right?
Sure.
Where our solution maybe is not entirely suited to super enterprise clients,
Sure.
the Paygate solution is better suited to it, right?
Sure.
And now with us being able to think across a group and
Sure.
across a series of products where I bear responsibility across kind of everything in South Africa as well now.
Sure.
So Payfast is still my primary responsibility,
Sure.
but I have you've got to think about everything. We have a lot more at our disposal to service clients of any size, shape or form,
Sure.
with any aspiration to either stay in the country or go to the rest of Africa, service foreign clients or not. We have a lot of capability now across all the technology that is in the group now.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm going to bring it back to a personal level because I see you guys have had a lot of interest in Payfast as of late. You're sitting with 80 employees at this point in time?
Yeah, so just short of 80. I mean,
Okay.
we've been hiring a lot the last few months. I think we hit 78 this
Yeah.
month. Yeah.
Quite something. Now, I want to know you've had a lot of interest. So what made you go forward with this acquisition? If you can list your, maybe 3 primary reasons that actually got you to say, like, look, we're actually going to do this and we're going to do this now.
Yeah, look, it's difficult. It's I mean, from a personal level, this is
Yeah.
a very hard choice, I
Yeah.
think, for any founder.
Sure.
I mean, my goal, which you sort of asked earlier about, was this kind of in the future, just any acquisition, right? My goal was always to build a sustainable business.
Sure.
I didn't start the company with a view to being acquired or to selling it.
Sure.
I started with a view to building a sustainable company.
Sure.
And we achieved that. We definitely, especially in the last few years, have achieved a very strong performing company from a financial perspective, from an operational perspective. There's a lot to be proud of in the Payfast brand. This came up, and as I said before in the press conference, we have been talking about this with the guys since about 2015.
Sure.
And in that time, obviously, entertained a lot of inbound interest. I think, it's tricky to sort of think about what would be the main factors.
Sure,
I think
sure.
part of it was diversification
Yeah.
to some degree, which is interesting to me. And this presents an interesting opportunity where we as a group now are across multiple countries,
Sure.
across multiple currencies. We have a little bit less systemic risk or exposure to any particular geography and any particular currency. And I think that's always a concern.
Sure.
Obviously, there is some element of taking a little bit of money off the table,
Sure.
so you're de-risking a little bit on a personal level. But that is there's a longer story to that, right? It's not like suddenly you're rolling in it. That's not really how it works. But
Sure.
there's an element of that as well.
Sure.
And then I suppose the other part for me is working with people who have deep industry experience.
Yes.
As I said, the payments industry is a tricky one in that you learn it by being in it, right?
Yes.
So it's really hard to find people who have a deep knowledge and interest
Sure.
in the payments industry.
Sure.
And working with other founder-led and run organizations
Yes.
where the guys have that commitment and that deep understanding and knowledge is quite attractive to me. So
Sure.
working with Peter from Paygate, working with Iran from 3D Direct Pay and Offer and the rest of the kind of the teams where there's a lot of good experience is a very attractive thing. I mean, we have good skills in our own company in Payfast, but it's really nice to complement that with
Sure.
with other skills that we maybe don't have
Sure.
in the payments world.
Sure. And I asked you this before. It means you're going to be based in Cape Town. Everything for you remains the same. You may just be traveling a lot more into these African countries.
So, I don't think a lot's really going to change that
Yeah.
much for us. I mean, we have to think a little bit bigger now, and that's
Sure.
kind of something it's an interesting shift for some of my staff as well
Sure.
to think about. But really in the short term, very little kind of changes for us. Part of why we're attractive as an acquisition target is because we're good at what we do.
Sure.
And we've built something that it is something that someone wants to buy,
Sure.
which is flattering in and of itself. So not much changes for us initially. And I don't think I'm going to do too much traveling, but we'll have to see what happens in the future. Really what kind of happens is that South Africa does make up a big chunk of the group in certain respects,
Sure.
but not in others. And this is really where the technology hub is going to sit. And we are a very technology-driven company,
Sure.
probably more than a lot of the rest of the group. Like we have a very strong focus on the tech,
Sure.
and that's still going to sit here. And that's still where we need to focus our energy is on South Africa and Southern Africa.
Great.
Right? The rest of Africa, there's a lot of people who deal with that at the moment, and yes, we've got to keep it in mind. To a large degree, that's kind of handled, to some degree already,
Sure.
right? So no, I don't think there's going to be too much that has to change for us, but we're going to work it out, and we'll see how what the next year or two holds in that regard.
Great. Well, congratulations, a massive congratulations from all of
Well,
us,
thank
and
you.
thank you so much for the ongoing support.
Cool. No, thank you.
We
My
wish
pleasure.
you nothing but the best, and yeah, thank you.
Great.
Thanks for your
Cool.
time.
Thanks very much.
And that, folks, was Jonathan Smit, a long-time supporter of the Heavy Chef brand, on his recent acquisition of his company Payfast by the DPO Group, and what that means to Payfast and to the African payments service provider arena. Now, if you would like to see more of these interviews, then first and foremost, click on the subscribe button. That is going to be right over here. I hope that it is right over here when we actually put this out there. And of course, you can show us your love on our social feeds at Heavy Chef, and check out all up and coming events and masterclasses at www.heavychef.com. And once again, this is Caley Africa signing out of the Heavy Chef interview chair. Hamba kahle.